listener production.
The creators of this podcast would like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which it is recorded. Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people are the first storytellers of this land. We pay respect to their elders, past, present and emerging, as well as any Indigenous people who may be listening today.
Hello and welcome, and prepare yourself for the
biggest stories in all of Norway.
Biggest stories.
I'm Charlie Clausen.
I am Will Anderson. Hello and thank you for watching.
And we are very excited. Last week we gave you a bit of a refresher on our friend Elias, but today is a banner day in the world of TOFOP. One of our most popular recurring guests, Elias, is here in person. Well, I guess, in person or via Riverside.
Yeah.
Is that, can you still say in person?
How are you making this so complicated?
I don't know.
Like, this should be really simple. We've talked about this guy Elias and his stories on our podcast. We put out a podcast last week of all those stories. Now we are talking to Elias about those stories and other stories. Welcome, Elias.
Everyone relax. Hello, guys.
Nice.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for agreeing to do this. This started off as a little idea about 6 months ago, and I sent you an email saying, hey, listen, you've got such great stories. Are there any more stories you've got to tell? And it turns out there's quite a few, which will be multiple episodes worth, which is going to be our little project. So for those of you, for those who are listening who maybe aren't familiar with you or where you're from, so tell us a little bit about the story of Elias. Where did you grow up? Where's the town?
I grew up in a little, a little valley called Maridalen. Actually in the middle of Oslo, which is the capital, but it's in the middle of the forest, like on a little farm called Sørbråten gård, where I grew up with.
You know what I love is, I'm glad Elias is telling us this stuff, because I think if we were saying the same words, it'd sound really racist.
So the farm that we've seen in the videos, the giant water slide and the slingshot and stuff, is that the family home? Is that where you live, or is that like a second home?
No, it's where I lived.
Right.
I don't live there anymore, but yeah, I grew up there.
Okay,
Lived there
and that's just
until
outside of Oslo.
Elias, can I ask you this question? Because this is what fascinates me the most, and maybe we covered it one other time, but I need to know. I need to know this out loud. How did this happen? I understand how you. I understand how you came into our lives. You contacted us, and we made you part of our world. But how did we come into your world? How did you discover us?
Yeah, that's actually a good question. I was probably 14. I think it was 2018. So I felt very cool disobeying the orders that you had to be at least 15 to listen to the show.
Yeah, I mean, that's not an enforceable rule. That's arbitrary. We kind of made that up.
Yeah, I felt very cool. I think it might have been through the Weekly Planet. I'm a regular listener of the Weekly Planet, and they had the TOFOP presenting TOFOP episode.
That's right.
I think it was that you discussed a guy playing mandolin or something.
What? I mean,
an old episode.
Hang on, was this an episode of the Weekly Planet or TOFOP where we discussed a guy playing
of TOFOP.
Oh,
some guy.
There was a TOFOP Weekly Planet crossover episodes. Remember?
Oh yeah.
In 2018, I had my summer holiday and just popped into my feed, and I had a listen and found it quite appealing. So I kept on it. I don't know what I was supposed to tell you. It's all right.
No, was there any?
I felt in good company by two idiots. Yeah.
I mean, you speak excellent English. Was it hard to sort of grasp the things that we're talking about, or was it not so much the language, rather the concepts that we were discussing?
It's the language is fine. I can understand English fine. I have to excuse my English. It's of course not my first language, but no, it was just the things we were talking about.
I can't actually even remember.
It was nice to listen to a podcast that sounded like two people speaking English as their second language.
And so what was the prompt? I mean, I can't quite remember, but like, so you told us about this, the biggest horse in all of Norway. Now, was this a horse that this is a horse that you grew up with as a kid, right? This was on the right. Okay. And the horse you told us off air is still alive.
Yeah, it's still alive. It's doing great. It's very fat. It's super fat.
So, well, it's true to form.
I mean, but I was going to say, if it's like a big horse anyway, like, don't you think is it just filling out its height? You know, its body. Is it fat?
It's really fat, but it's quite cool because it's so big. You know, it looks even bigger because it's almost as wide as it's tall. Just
I didn't realize we were
the widest horse in all of Norway.
It's the chodiest horse in all of Norway, it sounds like. I can't tell you, Elias, how many people tag me anytime there is any post about a big horse. Like, I'm immediately tagged. And look, it may be the biggest horse in all of Norway, but I've seen some photos of some horses which I don't know, like, might be the biggest horses in all the world. But that was just the tip of the iceberg. And so then obviously there was the giant slingshot and the giant water slide. Can you just give us a bit of a family tree, just your immediate family? So we know you have a brother, a Sven.
Yeah, I have a lot of brothers, actually. Okay. I have, and my father is the father of 7 children that we know of, but probably around 7. So I am number 5. I have 4 older brothers that are quite a bit older than me. And they're all crazy. They're nut jobs, right? Extreme sports, loving, like psychos, proper psychos. Built like the horse, big guys, strong, yeah.
So are you a bit of a black sheep in the family in the sense that your brothers are all these like macho, outdoorsy, kind of extreme? I mean, you're a musician, right?
Yeah, and I have 2 younger siblings as well, which are more like me, I guess. We're closer in age. We're 2 and 6 years apart. So it's just the disconnect from not growing up with those older guys. I would probably be just like them if they were part of my life when I was little. and I've probably done more, like, not extreme stuff, but when you grow up on a farm, you'll know this. It's stuff happens.
Wow, well, that sounds very sinister. What do you mean? When you grow up on the farm, stuff happens?
We're about to get into the time I was shot. It's
Okay, well, that is a perfect.
I mean, is that a good leaping off point?
Yeah.
Right? We should talk about we've got a couple of headlines for this conversation today, and I think we're starting quite boldly. With all I've got in front of me is the time I was shot.
Yeah, it was my summer holiday. I must have been around 11, 12 years old.
Yeah, shootable age. That's what we call it in Australia. Shootable age, 11 or 12.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful summer's day where me and my sister are spending 3 weeks on the farm with my father. And what do? 3 weeks on the farm?
Shoot your kids.
You can... Yeah. So
apparently.
This is like a rifle made for shooting small birds.
Right.
So it's not.
Is it
heavy.
like an air rifle? Like, what is it? Air powered?
It's like a modified gas. You have this small gas. Let's call it. I don't know why my father has a bird rifle. He never shoots birds. He's a vegetarian. He doesn't shoot anything except for me, apparently. But
I mean, you sort of answered your own question then, is like, I don't know why my father has a bird rifle. He doesn't shoot birds, but he shot you. No. I think the answer's pretty clear.
Yeah. So anyway, me and my sister were doing some target practice. My sister is a great shot. She's a fantastic shooter. And me, not as much. It's just something to do, isn't it? We also had a handgun that we fired around with. Not a proper handgun, but also this heavy firing modified gas pistol. Luckily only with target practice shots. We were shooting with this rifle. It was so heavy that my sister had to lay it on top of my leg. I was sitting down, and she would have it on my leg and shooting the target, or on my shoulder or something. Very mad, in Mad Max.
Yeah, totally. You were Max, she was Furiosa.
Yeah, absolutely.
Can I ask that the bullet that this gas-powered rifle fires, is it like a metal slug, like a blunt slug?
Yeah, it's a little lead slug. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but it's kind of like, I think it's like an air rifle in Australia, because growing up, we had air rifles as well. My father was a sports shooter. He belonged to like a rifle club, and we would shoot cans and stuff in the backyard. He never shot me with it. That was that's the stark difference between.
It's like that, but it's made for hunting, so it shoots quite a bit harder.
Okay. Because it's propelled by the gas.
Yeah, it's we have air rifles as well, and if you get shot by them, it's not a big problem. You can get a bullet out immediately, but these gas rifles have a bit of a kick to them.
Okay, so how do you actually, how do you get shot though?
No, okay, so me and my sister, we were in the barn shooting. We have a big target inside the barn, and my father comes out. I don't know what he's been doing, but he wants to teach us about gun safety.
Wow, this is going to
irony is rich.
Yeah.
I mean, it's beautiful, really. Isn't it?
Yeah, so
it's not like as if it isn't enough. He's going to shoot you. That he's first said we're about to learn about gun safety. It's brilliant.
Two things I want to teach you. It's about treating your kids well and gun safety.
I don't know if he's very concerned about safety, really, but he wanted. I think he wanted a clean conscience in the case that we shot one another. He had at least told us not to do it. So he comes into the barn and grabs the rifle from my sister and starts telling us about the safety mechanism on the weapon, and shows us his big rifle, which is for killing proper big animals, which you have to have on a farm, just in case. And then goes back to the rifle. Probably takes around 20 minutes to go over the safety stuff, and always stand behind the other person. And then my sister says, I think we might need to change the gas on this rifle soon. And my father, just without missing a beat, fires what he thinks is a blank right into my leg. To check the gas, the proper.
I mean, this is just so good. Like, every bit of this story is just like the bravado in that situation where he's just like, you're wrong. I'm not going to listen to this girl tell me about safe, and then just fires one directly into your leg. I mean, it's a power move. That's what I will say.
So was the idea that he had the barrel of the gun pointed at the ground, though, like people do when they are checking the chamber or something like that? He thought that he was discharging it into the dirt, but your leg got in the way? I mean, I don't understand how. I'm
not quite sure how it happened. It must have been on an angle. My father to this day claims that it ricocheted off the floor, but it can't have, because my microphone fell out.
It was pointed the wrong direction.
No, the bullet went up and down into my leg, so it couldn't have ricocheted off the floor. It's just not possible.
Well, it ricocheted off the floor and then off a second surface that we are yet to identify back into your leg.
It couldn't have been off the ceiling as well, because it's like at least 10 meters to the ceiling in the barn. It's just not possible.
I can't wait for Oliver Stone to make the movie of your life, where we've got the courtroom scene with Kevin Costner saying that was indeed a magic bullet, Mr. Viston.
Kevin Costner and Elias's dad just going through. It went back into the left and ricocheted.
Okay, anyway, so you get shot in the leg. What does it feel like to get shot?
Yes,
it's actually not that bad. It's
which I believe was JFK's last words.
It's like that stings a little.
Yeah, it stings. It does hurt. I'm not going to pretend I'm that tough, but it's not made for killing. It's just a tiny lead thing. It's like being stabbed with a knitting needle or something.
And did that happen as well?
But is it lodged? To distract you from the pain. Was it lodged in your leg?
Yeah.
Yeah, it lodged in.
Right in my leg, quite deep as well. But both me and my father were not very fond of going to the doctors.
Why is that?
I don't know. It's just yeah. Why would you?
I mean, yeah, all that years of medical training. Why would you?
I mean, I imagine if you go to see a doctor to report that you've shot your child,
that's as
there's a lot of paperwork. I imagine, a lot of follow-up questions. I would think
this is probably not the right podcast to mention that I'm not very fond of doctors, but anyway,
yeah, it's true. So what happens then? You've got a lead bullet in your leg.
Yeah, but I didn't really think that far. I just, my leg is bleeding a bit. And my father didn't really pay much attention to it. He said fan, which is a Norwegian for fuck or Satan or something. And then he told my sister to get a piece of cloth or something with some water on and clean it off. And she did. And I got a Band-Aid and it was patched up nicely. And it grew within the remaining 3 weeks I spent at the farm.
Hang on, but did the bullet come out? Did you take the bullet out? What?
No, I didn't.
You left the bullet in there?
Yeah, but I was 11 and my sister was 9. We didn't think that far to remove the bullet.
What about your father? He was there. He was still there, right?
No,
he didn't just throw you the bandage and leave.
He was off stabbing people with knitting needles or something.
That was the start of his rampage.
So hang on, but did the bullet come out? Did it eventually grow out?
We'll get to that part. We'll get to that part.
Oh, okay, sorry, yeah. Okay. Let's not put the cart before the horse, as they say in Norway, I believe.
So anyway, I almost forgot about it. A lot of other stuff happened those 3 weeks.
Really?
We'll actually get into some of that later in the...
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Great.
Under another topic, that's just a little teaser. We made some homemade toys. Anyway, we'll get back to that. A couple of months later, I didn't even mention it to my mother. I had forgotten all about it. It was just like... it doesn't look like much. It's just a tiny scar. I have bigger scars, so it doesn't. No one. If I didn't tell anyone about it, they wouldn't know. I had forgotten all about it, to be honest. Anyway, a couple of months go by, and it's around winter, so at least 6 months, and we're up in the mountains, in the famous Norwegian mountains, Rondane.
Yeah, of course.
Which my grandfather has a little cabin.
And how many people has he shot? Your grandfather?
I don't know. He was in the military. I don't know.
So
he has told me actually that he's a great shot, but I've never seen him shoot anything.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's
For contrast, that's my mother's father. So he's quite a peaceful man.
Okay, good.
Yeah,
doesn't have the blood.
So we're up there, and my leg really starts hurting, and it's like swollen up and yellow, and weird goo is coming out of it. And I had forgotten all about that bullet at this point, but my mother is starting to notice this infected thing on the side of my leg, and so she heats up a knife. It's no electricity; it's miles from phone service and everything. Just me, my mother, my sister, my brother, and my grandfather up in the mountains. So she takes a knife and a needle, not a knitting needle, but almost, and pokes a hole in my leg and gets some of this gunk out. And,
oh my God.
Yeah. Operation
so she
at home.
heated the knife up to disinfect it, right?
Yeah.
And so, like I
think she had a summer job in a vet in her youth.
Okay, so she's a medical professional.
Yeah.
Round of applause for that. A medical professional.
Yeah.
So she heats the knife up, and is it like a kitchen knife or a butter knife? What are we talking here?
It's like just a normal woodworking knife.
Okay, like a tool, right?
Right. Yeah.
It sounds
my
like your
grandfather
mum
probably made it.
I think it's the third Rambo. There's one of the Rambo movies where he gets shot and the bullet doesn't come out, and he has to he puts gunpowder in the entry wound and blasts the bullet out the other side, and then he like cauterizes it with like a hot knife. I'm just sort of getting
we didn't have
visions
any
of your
gunpowder,
mum.
but yeah.
Okay, it's everything but the gunpowder.
No, she cuts my leg open bit for bit just to see what's going on inside of there. And we get quite far into my leg, about, I don't know, a couple of centimeters. We could almost see the bone. It was not far from my bone. But I'm a skinny guy, so it's not too far. But and then she, with a pair of tweezers, takes out this little lead bullet, and my sister bursts out, "Oh, that must be the bullet!" And my mother is like, "What? The bullet? What bullet?" And then we had to tell her the whole story.
I mean, can you imagine from her point of view? She's like, my child has a lesion.
Yeah.
I should make sure there's no pus in there. I'll do my job as a parent thinking, oh, you've been bitten by a bug. Or
Yeah, something
you've got
like
some
that.
sort of scab or like,
And I'm quite
Right?
allergic to
No,
bugs, so that was what we thought. It was a wasp or something.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, not the bullet.
Yeah,
not,
the bullet.
not from when you were shot in the leg by your father.
By your father.
And by the way, who at the start of this story you said like had 7 kids or so, you think they're the ones you know about. I thought you meant that like maybe he was notoriously like a bit of a ladies' man and we don't know. But now I'm thinking it's more because he's just shooting them randomly and he can't get count.
There's 7 of us. There used to be 13, but now there's only 7.
Survival of the fittest. There were only food for 7 people.
Yeah, that's right. Well, that takes us into our next story that we want to talk about. Let's talk about the extended TOFOP family. So there was a wedding in Eastern Europe, I believe. Explain to people what TOFOP is.
Torp, that's my actual last name, my surname. It's my father's name. It's just a family name. It means farm.
Right. But isn't it also your brother's business? Isn't that also TOFOP?
Oh, yeah. All my brothers have a separate business called Torp something.
Yeah, right. That's cool.
But it's just our name.
It's branding.
So what happened at the TOFOP family wedding in Eastern Europe?
It was my oldest brother, Simon, who was getting married to this
Sorry, your oldest brother's
supermodel
name is what?
from the...
Charlie.
What's your oldest brother's name?
Charlie.
Simon.
Okay,
Simon.
Charlie.
Yeah.
just double checking.
Charlie.
I was just double checking. That's okay. I want to make sure.
I know it's an unfortunate name in English. I'm quite aware.
Charlie. We can't stop down on this. We need to just...
No, I'm all. I just need to clarify once. You're the one who stopped me down. Let's just. I'm barreling on.
All right.
We'll call him Simon.
Okay.
That's
Yes.
No.
no,
I think let's stick with
we
Simon.
want to be respectful.
That's correct.
If it's
the
Simon, it's
Norwegian
Simon.
language. Yeah. It didn't even cross my mind before I said it. Anyways. So I was there with my other brother, Cock and Balls.
This is what happens when a 14-year-old listens to too much TOFOP.
Yeah, that's true. This is our fault. Yeah.
Okay.
This is your fault.
That was so
okay.
funny.
Anyways.
Yeah.
My oldest brother, Simon, he was marrying this supermodel from the Czech Republic. I don't know
They're
how
all supermodels over there. I've been to the Czech Republic, and it's insane, like how beautiful. Like you go into just like an ordinary retail store, like an ice creamery or something like that, and the people working behind the counter, or all the men look like boxers, but all the women look like supermodels.
It's a good country to be an ugly man. Anyway. Yeah. I think that was why the Torp family went down for the wedding.
Right.
So he married this supermodel or something, like promoting underwear or something in magazines. You get the gist. And he invited the entirety of the family down. My my father's brothers and sisters, and all of their children, and all of my brothers.
So how many people do you think in total? It was a big wedding, like
Yeah, it was. It was quite a big wedding. It's probably the biggest wedding I've been to. It was maybe 50, 60 torpers there, and about equally as many Czech supermodels.
do the Torps get together very often? Is this a common thing to have the extended?
Almost never.
Right, so this is a special event.
Yeah. They also don't get married a lot. He's probably my only brother that's married, I think.
Right.
Maybe. I'm not sure. Anyway, usually someone has to die for for the family to
Get together.
to unite.
Well, I mean, the way your father's going,
Which is why, that's why, yeah.
regular
I mean,
occurrence.
Yeah.
Clearly, he just wants the family to get together more often. He's willing to fire a few warning shots into a child to make it happen.
Yeah. So this is not all of my family were there, even because no one had died. The only time I've seen my family gathered like that was when my grandfather died and my grandmother died. Because there's a lot of bad blood between all sorts of people in my family. They hate each other with a passion. So
would you say it's like Game of Thrones? Are we talking like a Westeros?
It's very much like Game of Thrones. That
situation?
was the exact feeling I had when we came there. Like a bunch of fucking Vikings from the north invading this just rude, ugly, like terrible, just a bunch of idiots. Everyone is that big, huge muscles, and yeah. Anyway, my father seems quite normal. Besides his siblings, especially his oldest brother Halvor, which is quite an interesting character. They hate each other. I'm not quite sure why. This goes way back in.
And they're brothers. They're like
from,
same parents, brothers. Yeah, right.
Same
they
parents.
hate each other. Fascinating.
Yeah, not sure why. Doesn't matter really. But
did your father
both
shoot
of them
him?
were
Is
there.
is there a possibility that your father shot him?
So we turned up to this wedding, an entire flock, and everyone speaks really bad English. At least a lot of people in my family. So we arrived there, and of course, all the Torpers took the biggest rooms. This was also out on a farm, way fucking out there in Czech Republic. Everyone pulled up in. Most of them had even put on some nice clothes, but my brother Halvor had at least a nice shirt, but this weird sandals with socks in and a bit too tight pants.
Right. Okay, but was it like fashionable? Was it trendy, like cool, like tight pants with sandals, or was it just like
he's like proper? He doesn't believe in 5G and the coronavirus and all that stuff. He's like,
okay,
yeah. Conspiracy,
that's
like
a good shorthand.
theorist.
Yeah, I went to visit him one time actually. Yeah. I'd never see him because he fights with my dad. I went to see him just to have met my uncle, and he had an old guitar with which my great grandfather made, which he promised to give me. So I went over there to get that, and he made like this witch's brew of a tea, just everything he had laying around in the kitchen in this massive pot, and stirred around it until it's smelled burn, and then he served that to me, and I had to drink that to get that old guitar.
And what was it? Was it meant to have some kind of health properties? This tea, this magic potion?
He said he was just experimenting with the. I don't know. It's probably just a lot of regular tea stuff, but it is the most horrible smelling and tasting thing I've ever fucking tasted in my life. It was horrific. Yeah. That paints a picture of my father's brother.
Yes.
But it was quite funny seeing all of these Viking-like idiots which is they have no manners around the table, eating with their hands, just shoving food in their mouth at a wedding with Czech supermodels. Quite a sight. And my brother, the one that was getting married, had made little table cards to ensure that the Torp family didn't just stick together or start a big fight or something. So it was about one Torp and one supermodel around the entirety of the table.
I love it. I mean, that is the equation you want, right? One Torp, one supermodel. It's kind of like that's how you need to divide it up. And can I ask, so the Czech side of the family, that's all her friends and her family and stuff, and so they're all mostly Czech, and then there's all of you guys are all mostly Norwegian or all Norwegian?
Only Norwegians and only Czech people.
And so are you all speaking, is the common language English? Is that what people are talking to understand? Okay, all right, to understand each other. Okay.
And so my other brother had this crazy PowerPoint presentation that he had made for my eldest brother's wedding, which was just
as part of the speeches or something.
Yeah. And he was quite tipsy at that point, and he's not very good at English, so he stumbled his way through this PowerPoint presentation, showing pictures of them when they were young and stuff, and then suddenly the next slide was world domination, and and under it said Torp, and then he had a world map.
What?
And
what is going on? What?
And then he proceeded to place all of my siblings on this map, because he said the ultimate Torp goal was to expand and dominate the world.
Spread the bloodline.
Yeah. So my father has a little place up in Asia, up in the Philippines. So he got Asia. My father, the chief gets Asia.
Did you get Australia? Is this what this is? Is this all part of it?
Are you our new
I actually
leader?
didn't get Australia. I'll get to it. And my other brother Christian got Africa, because he's been down there sometimes, and he himself got America because he has started his business down there. And my brother Audun, my youngest of my older brothers, he has red hair, so he got Australia. I don't know why.
That's a bad place for a redhead. Like, you don't want to send redheads down here.
Worse.
But that was his explanation. And little faces popped up on this world map. And so there was only South America left. So me and my nephew, which is my oldest brother's eldest son, which is the same age as me. And he's also my best friend. We've gone to school together and stuff. I'm his uncle. It's very fun at parties when everyone's drunk.
When you said it's like Game of Thrones, you really were right. Like, it is very, very Game of Thrones. It's hard to follow the bloodlines. It's also slightly like, I know you're Norwegian, but when you have people with blonde hair and blue eyes showing you a map of the world and showing you how they want to take over, it's terrifying for the rest of us.
Yeah. Luckily, he isn't blonde haired. He has jet black. So luckily,
yeah, and a little mustache.
He's very bad at English, so he switched over to German halfway. No, we're kidding.
No. So you and your hang on, but you and your nephew, right? That's right. Yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah.
You and your nephew, who are actually best friends and the same age.
Yeah.
You got to share South America. Is that what happened?
That was the only thing left, and he had forgotten about South America. He said it was just America, and someone shouted, "What about South America?" and said, Ivar and Elias can have that.
That entire continent, however many billion people.
You guys can share that.
Yeah.
And this was all in terrible English.
Okay, so so this is he's giving. Is this like the best man speech, or it's like it's one of the groomsmen speeches? So how is
I'm
this?
Not sure. It just happened.
But how is this speech endearing himself to the Czech portion of the wedding? We're the Torps.
Yeah, what do they think?
We're taking over the world.
What do the Czechs?
I have no idea. I tried to look around. I don't know how much of it they understood because of the poor English. But he was very energetic, and of course my brother that was getting wed, he got Europe because he or at least Eastern Europe, because he's wedding into.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he got Eastern Europe.
Oh man.
And then he proceeded to tell some stories about my brother getting beat up by a bull, and then he fat shamed him for 10 minutes at the end, because he's the only brother that isn't super fit of those four. He's not super fat. He's just a bit on the heavier side than the others. So then he's just, my dear brother, I love you so much, but you've become too fat. You're going to die.
It's his wedding.
What you want to hear on your wedding day is how close you are to death.
While you're surrounded by supermodels.
And he was talking directly to his new wife, telling, "Oh, you're in for a treat. My brother is so fat. You're not able. I bet you can't even see his dick." Stuff like that. Just pure chaos. And my brother went up and held a speech after all the speeches, and then he promised to exercise more.
Oh, okay. Well, so
I guess
there's a happy ending.
Happy ending to that one.
Yes, maybe bullying does work, I guess, is the lesson.
Absolutely, that's the only tough love is the only love we know.
And so how did the wedding finish up? Was it were there any more stories to come out of that? Was it
Yeah. We'll come back to my father's brother, my uncle Halvor, because he's this crazy guy, right? And he's sitting next to this. She looks like a porn star and is dressed like a porn star with just, you can see the operations in her face and on her body, and she looks like the stereotype for Czech porn star. Anyway, he sits across from her and tells her about one of the times he did the psychedelic drug. You probably know it, ayahuasca. This weird tea, yeah.
Was that the thing he made for you when you went around?
I'm not. I was fearing it, and then he's just leaning over this big table, talking to her with just food in his face, and he's been eating with his hands. Just this disgusting Norwegian man. And this lady is very polite and listening to them. Right.
What was can you remember what was the thrust of his ayahuasca experience? What was he trying to communicate to her?
He was telling about it was wonderful. I took it and it's solved so many of my problems. And then I just had to go to the toilet and I just shat. And then he proceeded to tell about the time he had explosive diarrhea while the dessert was served. And he made these sounds like just so graphic. With a lot of food in his mouth, just spilling out, and then he said, and it just didn't stop, just kept pouring out and pouring out. It was like, I don't know the English word. It's the water hose with high pressure water fire hose, and then I just started to vomit while I shat, and it was just coming out everywhere. And I can see this. This Czech woman getting quite pale. She's not used to this stuff over the cake. Well, the cake is getting so me and my nephew Ivar, we're just sitting and taking in everything that's happening, just watching this madman explaining his explosive diarrhea to a supermodel. It was quite jarring.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah,
we're all people concerned.
Incredible.
And that's another funny thing. My brother, the music that he played when he went up to give the rings or whatever, was the theme music for the TV show Vikings. Just so, yeah, I couldn't help it but laugh. And some of her friends, the Czech models, were handing out little soap bubbles to the children. And my youngest older brother was so furious because the soap bubbles were tiny, this stupid fucking Eastern European tiny soap bubbles. So he went to the back of his car with his mother. We don't share a mother. And he got these are proper Norwegian soap bubbles. And he handed out these enormous, I don't know what happened, just handed out, it took in all the tiny Czech soap bubbles and handed out enormous Norwegian soap bubbles.
What is
Hang
this?
on,
Is this a thing?
Yeah, no, I've never heard about it, but he was like fuming. How do they dare to give
have
this
culturally these tiny ones when the Norwegian ones are superior and renowned around
Why
the world?
did your brother have
I
like
have no
soap
idea.
bubbles on hand
Yes.
to hand out to people?
Yeah. I
What,
think
is
it's
this
his
a
mother
thing?
that had them, and it was just this is the worst thing I've ever seen. This cannot be. We have to fix this right now. So they
have to
marched off to
redress
get
this
them.
situation.
Yeah.
The bubbles are too small.
incredible.
Yeah.
Stupid Eastern European bubbles. They don't know how to do it like we do in Scandinavia.
Yeah,
They need
it's,
some-
it's quite racist actually. Yeah. Anyways, I couldn't contain myself. This was while my brother was saying yes to marrying this lady and everything, and he's just taking in all these soap bubbles and handing out, lying on the grass laughing. It's the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen.
How long was the wedding in total? Was it like a 3-day event?
Yeah, something like that.
Wow. Can you imagine those Czechs when they left their
Yeah.
wedding? That just would have been that was.
The story
3
of the
days.
most crazy thing they've ever experienced.
That's like Woodstock 99 for that. Those
absolutely.
Czech friends. They'll be talking about that for years to come. The wedding that they survived, the Torp
Set a
wedding.
new standard for weddings. And one of my other brothers also arranged this this little thing to do this. He called it ballongleken. It's the balloon, having fun with balloons, and everyone had to strap a balloon to their crotch area. And have you done this? And
No.
then two lions and two teams, and the person behind had to pop. No. The balloon it's attached to the behind to the ass, and the person behind has to pop it with their crotch.
It's look.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't know, but it's the kind of thing you see on Big Brother Up Late. It's like one of those
Stuff like
games that they do. Yeah.
Yeah, or in like videos they show you at a new job about things you're not allowed to do with colleagues at a party. That's what it feels like.
But and we weren't allowed to participate because I was probably 16 or 17. Yeah.
I bet you wanted to do it with all those Czech supermodels. What a time
I know.
to pop a
So
balloon.
I've got to be honest with you. Now that I'm really picturing this scenario, I'm like, this is real hot.
As a 16-year-old boy, Elias, you probably could have popped that balloon from about 10 feet away.
Yeah. No, but actually, I was super happy not to be involved because seeing my father lift up this tiny Asian woman and popping her balloon, just holding her up and smashing her against his crotch, that is the worst fucking thing I've seen in my life.
That was actually child number 7.
Just and all my like crazy strong brothers and cousins and everything just going ham. Proper Game of Thrones, really proper Game of Thrones.
This whole thing.
Elias, we're gonna finish it there. We're gonna bring you back. Thank you so much for you coming on the very first episode
indeed.
of the biggest stories in all of Norway.
So
we
funny.
mentioned that
Thank
you're
you,
a
Elias.
We mentioned that you're in a band. What's your band called? Give them a little plug.
A little plug. I've just been playing in a big band. This is not for anyone, this band, but anyways, we have a record coming out.
Well, it's okay. This podcast isn't for anyone either.
Yeah,
so we
yeah.
understand exactly when it comes to niche
Literally,
markets.
we are interviewing right now someone we groomed as a child, lured into our podcasting world. So I don't think we can stand in judgment.
Yeah. Anyways, it's a big band. I played it for a year, called Soon Conscious. We have a record coming out. It's weird, noisy jazz rock stuff. And I play in a little pop band just under the name William Dillner. Also, we have also a record coming out this autumn.
Brilliant.
But it doesn't matter, that music is for no one. So
Okay. Well, if you are no one and you think you might be interested in hearing what Elias does away from this podcast, we'll put a link in the episode description below. But that is
The biggest stories in all of Norway.
Biggest stories.
I'm Charlie Clausen.
I'm Will Anderson.
and I'm Elias.